on the council's website if you want to view that. Could I ask IT colleagues to start the recording? Okay, I'll pass over now to Christine, who will go over the sender and any apologies.
Thanks, Chair, and morning members. So we have Councillor Douglas Reid.
Here.
Councillor Jim McMahon.
Here.
Councillor John McFadden. No. Councillor Elaine Cowan.
Here.
Councillor Maureen Mackay.
Present.
Councillor Ian Linton. No, thanks. Councillor Graham Barton.
Yeah, yeah.
Councillor Barry Douglas.
Here.
Councillor Neil Ingram.
Yep.
Councillor Claire Maitland.
Here.
Councillor Drew Filson.
Present.
Dr David Lewis.
Here.
Babs Mowat.
Yes, I'm here.
I have an apology from Norman Watt and Jackie Livingston.
Yes, I'm here.
Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Christine. I got a phone call from Councillor Linton last night. He's in Ireland or Ireland. He'll need to see if he can get IT and internet access somewhere. And Barry?
No, I was just for declarations of interest, but I'll wait to hear on to that, Chair.
Declarations of interest, Barry?
Thank you, Chair. Just for item 7, obviously, as I am a board member of Take About, but as I note, there's no decision being taken. It is for noting. I would intend to stay for the deliberation of that item. Thanks.
Okay, thanks for that, Barry. Anyone else, Elaine?
For similar reason, Chair, just to remind people I'm a trustee Celebrate Kilmarnock, so for transparency reasons, but I don't consider today's paper significant that I need to withdraw. Okay,
thanks. I suppose I'm a board member to Celebrate Kilmarnock, so I better do likewise. Okay. That was it. Okay, we're now going to item 2E, and that's a Gaelic language plan. And Ian, whatever.
Yeah. Thanks, Chair, and good morning, members. So I'm joined today as well, Chair, with 2 colleagues from my own team. So I've got Alia and Charlotte Steele, a graduate intern. So I wouldn't pretend to take any credit for the reports in front of you. It's mostly the work of Alia and Charlotte. But I will provide some introductory comments, Chair, if that's okay. So the Gaelic language plan, this is the Council's 3rd Gaelic language plan that we're bringing to elected members for approval. This covers the period 2023 to 2028, and this fulfils our statutory duty under the Gaelic Language Scotland Act 2005. So the report, a short covering report, covers some of that background, and attached as an appendix is the proposed draft Gaelic language plan for the next 5 years. As part of the decision-making process, as much as Cabinet today is asked to approve that, it will then be submitted to the Board na Gael for their endorsement as well, Chair, too. So, as I mentioned, this is our 3rd Gaelic language plan. The previous 2, we provide a short summary of both of them at paragraph 7 of the covering report. And then at paragraph 8, we cover some of the progress that we have made working closely with the board to develop the priorities that are contained within the proposed new plan for the next 5 years, and they're set out at paragraph 8. The Council has established an implementation group internally, and we have representation on that group from across from Council's services. And that's summarised again at paragraph 9. And then at paragraph 10, Chair, we again provide a summary of some of the key milestones that we've went through over the last 9 months or so in terms of the development work that Alia and Charlotte have led. So we had an internal language capacity audit for employees, which closed at the end of March. We had a full public consultation exercise, again, that closed at the end of April. And we then include a summary of the draft Gaelic language plan from paragraph 11 onwards. Clearly, Chair, much of what's contained within the draft Gaelic language plan, it has a focus around learning and education. But not just that, we also have input into that activity from our community education reps, our adult learning, but particularly on the education footing, we know currently we have 37 children in primary school Gaelic medium education. We have 38 pupils at secondary at various stages, but in total 38, and we have 16 pupils, 16 young people in our early years establishments as well. So I mentioned, Chair, that we had a consultation process, and part of that was an internal language capacity audit. We've provided a summary of the outcome from that, from paragraph 15 to paragraph 17. We had really encouraged by the response from employees to our survey work. There was 307 employees replied to that survey, and over a third of those respondents expressed that they would like to take their Gaelic language learning further as well. We also provide a summary of the results from the public consultation. So you'll see at paragraph 19, there were 81 respondents to the public consultation, probably a reflection on the proportion of our community that state that they have Gaelic language capacity. But that's based on the 2011 census. So in 2011, the last meaningful information we have from the census was just under 1% of our population were Gaelic language speaking. So we were encouraged by the 81 respondents to the public consultation, but we also understood that that was probably a reflection and proportionate with the size of the community that we have. So, Chair, with those comments, I wasn't proposing to go through the detail of the actual plan itself that's attached, but happy for myself or my colleagues to take any questions. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Ian. Good to see this, and good to see a bit of work in this. I mean, I think we all know the benefits of multilingualism and learning, and its ability for children to adopt other languages and understand a wee bit more about the cultural identity of where they come from. I think this authority has been almost about 20 years doing significant work in this area. Colleagues, any comments? Jump.
No, sorry, it's Ian.
Oh, Ian.
Sorry,
Hello.
Chair, it was just to say that that's me managed to join. I was having a wee bit of technical difficulty there, so apologies for my lateness.
That's okay. I understand that. That's fine. Thanks. Good to see you. Jim?
No.
All right, no. Okay, anybody want to comment? Or any questions? No. Okay, can we agree the recommendations on page 3 then, folks? Great. Okay. See. And that sadly is the end of the items for our education, folks. Good to see you. I'll see you soon. Okay, education spokespersons are away, so maybe now just go to item 3, and that's the Ayrshire Roads Alliance Bridge contract. Out turns, Kevin.
Thank you, Chair. And I have Kirsty Smith with me this morning, who's our new team leader for bridges. The purpose of the report is to advise Cabinet of the contractual outturns in 6 Ayrshire Roads Alliance bridge repair contracts. Section 26(7) of the Council Standing Orders for Contracts advises that in the case of lump sum capital programme contracts, in the event that the final cost of a contract exceeds or is likely to exceed the accepted contract sum, including any subsequent authorised approval to incur additional expenditure by more than 10%, then this shall be reported to the Cabinet, explaining the reasons and circumstances and the financial and any other relevant implications for the Council. The U32 Claremont Bridge near New Milnes on site, it was identified that some of the existing masonry was in poor condition and would not be able to be reused. This resulted in the requirements for more additional stone to be imported, and other works included tree removal in order to carry out the work safely and further drainage works. The additional works were paid via a mixture of bill quantity rates, agreed rates and day works, and the additional cost was £24,388. The C129 Chapelton Bridge near Stewarton. On site, it was identified that some of the existing masonry was in poor condition and would not be able to be reused, and this resulted in the requirement for more new stone to be imported, and the additional works were paid via a mixture of bill of quantity rates, agreed rates and day works, and the additional cost was £15,196. The UA8 Henryton Bridge near Darvel, once on site, it was revealed that the culvert had very shallow foundations and the proposed repairs could not be carried out without undermining the existing culvert. It was then decided that a section of the culvert would have to be demolished and rebuilt in concrete in order to carry out a suitable repair. The additional works were paid via a mixture of bill of quantity rates, agreed rates and day works, and the additional cost was £18,551. Priestland Mill retaining wall. Once the initial work started in the retaining wall and clearance of vegetation was done, it became clear the structure was in very poor condition, and the ground which the wall sits on was also very poor. The design of the new wall had to be changed to provide more stability to the wall. This resulted in the scope of the work being increased, and the other additional works included stone repairs. The additional cost was estimated at £50,000. The U3 Braidley Bridge near Darvel. Once the earthworks began to reconstruct the eroded riverbank, a buried wing wall was exposed, and due to the condition of the wall, it was necessary to take down and rebuild to prevent further structural issues in the future. Some of the masonry from the existing wall was able to be reused elsewhere in the works, but all of the masonry required for this section to be imported. The additional works were paid via bill of quantity rates, and the additional cost was £27,260. C36 Nith Bridge near New Cumnock. Again, the amount of masonry works on site increased significantly following the second vehicle strike. As well as this, the amount of scaffolding required also increased significantly due to it having to span the River Nith and was not contained to the river bank. The additional works were paid via bill of quantity rates, and the additional cost estimate was £50,000 to £57,200. The recommendations are contained in paragraph 2. Happy to take any questions.
Thanks very much, Kevin, for that report. Maybe perhaps we're missing me not to mention Kirsty. Welcome to your first cabinet. I think Kirsty is one of our own homegrown talent that's through distance learning, and now got a senior position, and just welcome you and helping to present this report this morning. Okay, I'll open up to questions and comments. Jim?
Kevin reminds us round about the Nith Bridge. Historically, it's been done 2 or 3 times, and I know we've got give ways and priorities on that bridge. Would it be worth considering maybe some other sort of traffic calming round about that to slow them coming round that hill round the corner?
Through you, Chair, yeah, I can ask the team to have a look at that.
Thanks. Just I know that seems to always be happening. There's always collisions seems to be happening there, and we can do to avoid that. Colleagues, any other comments or questions? Maureen?
Thanks very much. Happy to accept the recommendations here. Because we're talking about bridges, Kevin, I've been asked to ask you a question about the bridge on McClellan Drive, and the that's the one, I believe, with Provost lampposts on it, which looks not in great shape. And I wonder if that could just get looked at. Thank you.
Through you, Chair, yeah, I can get somebody to take a look at that.
Right, Kevin, that was when we had a look at the vegetation underneath it. We made a site visit to the bridge at one point. So I think we're trying to see if the what do you call them, the community service folk we're going to paint that, because it is quite nice. Ornamental lampposts that Maureen mentions are quite, they're really nice. It'd be good if they're looking a wee bit the worse for wear at the moment. Maybe we could look at that, Kevin. Okay, thanks. Drew?
Just a wee one for me, Chair. It's not actually in the paper there, but it's the B74 window melt in New Cumnock. You've heard me say this for the past 6 years, but luckily now Kirsty's only been there 5 minutes, and now we're getting a road closure. So well done, Kirsty, for 3 months, so it'll make a big difference. But could I ask her, could you give them a wee update on the water side and Askin Chapel Row bridge repair? Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Drew.
Through you, Chair, I'll get Councillor Filson an update on that one.
Okay, thanks for that, Kevin. Okay, anything else, colleagues? Okay, can we agree the recommendations on page 49? Right. Okay, and go to item 4 now, which is the Recruitment Assessment Centre and Executive Coaching Framework contract extensions. Amanda.
Thanks, Chair. Morning, members. And just noting I've got Kathleen Hewitson here, who's the People and Culture Manager with responsibility for OD and for both these contracts. So the purpose of this report is to ask Cabinet to agree extensions for the Recruitment and Assessment Centre and Executive Coaching Framework contracts. Recommendations are detailed in paragraph 2. Paragraphs 3 through to 8 given the background, noting that paragraphs 3 to 6 relate to the recruitment assessment centres, detailing the providers, the format and the costs. Similarly, in paragraphs 7 and 8 is the detail for the executive coaching framework. The main reports in paragraphs 3 through to 9 note that in paragraph 9, following the approval of the service redesign for people and culture in January of this year, it noted that a full review of all policies would be carried out within the service to look at options and scope where possible, bringing things in-house and or in collaboration, shared partnership with other authorities. Paragraph 10 details that advice was sought from the procurement manager, hence the request for the extension for the 2 years for the assessment centre until May 25 to allow this scoping work to be carried out. Paragraph 11 details the services will continue to meet the costs. Paragraph 12 notes the executive coaching framework is due to expire in August 24 and the request is also to extend this to May 25 with new proposals and new options being brought back to Cabinet for approval in due course. Paragraphs 13 and 14 lays out the next steps, noting that the People and Culture Manager OD has already had early conversations with other councils to discuss opportunities, and this will be fully scoped out within new options identified. Also noting in paragraph 14, these extensions allow sufficient time to scope out the services which may be brought in-house and develop other tender plans if necessary for anything that's out of scope. Financial implications are in paragraphs 15 and 16, noting that the costs is difficult to predict because we don't know how many vacancies there will be that will require to go to assessment centre going forward. People and culture implications are detailed in paragraphs 9 through to 14. There are no further implications, but noting that trade union colleagues will be consulted on the scoping and future proposals. And I'll take members back to paragraph 2 with the recommendations and happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Amanda. Okay, anyone want to make any points or any comments or questions? It's quite straightforward. Okay, can we agree recommendations? Thank you. Okay, now over to the Ayrshire growth deal, Ayrshire Manufacturing Investment Corridor project, and that is Karen.
I'll just
David
I'll just introduce Chair. Obviously, today we've got Karen who will be taking us through the actual report. Obviously, today is the kind of update from previous cabinet reports where we said we'd bring back an update. This is the first one of that's setting out the AMIC and the Ayrshire Engineering Park position and how we're taking that forward. And I'd like to also introduce Fiona Patterson, who's Ayrshire Growth Deal project manager for these projects. I'll pass over to Karen, she can take us through, and then the report, and then we're happy to answer any questions. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Chair. Good morning, members. The purpose of this report is to update Cabinet on the progress of the Ayrshire Growth Deal Manufacturing Investment Corridor project and to seek members' approval to proceed with detailed designs on a preferred site location at Moorfield. Paragraphs 3 to 6 set out the background to this report and that the project is supported by investment of £23.5 million. The overall project aim of AMIC is to provide facilities and support to the manufacturing sector, in particular the food and drink industry within Ayrshire in the southwest of Scotland, to support businesses to start up and grow along with providing existing businesses with the opportunities to expand and develop into new markets. Paragraphs 7 to 11 set out progress to date in terms of links with the Ayrshire Food and Drink workstream, businesses and education partners. The last iteration of the outline business case for this project was submitted in late 2021, with the final iteration as detailed in the latest Ayrshire Growth Deal implementation plan due for submission in October 23. The design team have developed Design to REBA Stage 0 to 1. A specialist food and drink manufacturing consultant has been appointed to assist and guide the internal design team on the more specialised aspects of food and drink manufacturing build. Like many of our construction projects, construction inflation has affected the scale of the proposed physical development, and current forecasts indicate that the floor space being created will reduce as per paragraph 11 of the report. However, there is work ongoing to explore ways to increase funding. Paragraphs 12 to 13 discuss the site options appraisal undertaken at the original preferred site to the east of Belfield Interchange, and you can see that site in Appendix 1. The site at Belfield Interchange was selected as the preferred option on the basis that improvements, which were anticipated to be funded through the Strategic Transport Projects Review and thereafter through the Levelling Up Fund, would relieve challenges that the location has in relation to capacity and pedestrian and vehicular safety. Given the challenges faced at the site location is no longer favourable compared to the site at Moorfield. As noted in paragraph 3, we're also delivering the Ayrshire Engineering Park project as part of the growth deal. This project will provide high quality industrial premises for engineering and supply chain manufacturing companies for growth and expansion of the existing engineering business base and to attract inward investment. In considering the challenges arising as a result of the construction inflation, the project team has developed an innovative solution to co-locate AMIC with the Ayrshire Engineering Park on the site at Moorfield. And an indicative proposed site plan is shown in Appendix 2 of your papers. This plan will be finalised as detailed designs progress. The proposal has numerous advantages which make it a more attractive proposition than the original site proposal, and these are set out in paragraph 15 of your report. With many of the Ayrshire Growth Deal projects generally suffering from delays associated with construction inflation, this proposal allows 2 of our projects to move forwards with effective deliverable business cases. There's a range of applications set out in paragraphs 17 to 24, and you'll note in particular at paragraph 22 the risk implications, and in particular added pressures around requirements to net zero transition. In conclusion, the proposal offers the opportunity to deliver an opportunity to co-locate 2 projects in an excellent business location and accelerate delivery of the AMIC project whilst maximising the budgets allocated within the growth deal. There are 4 recommendations set out in paragraph 2, and I'm happy to take any questions alongside Fiona and David. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much, Karen. Thanks, David, as well. Just maybe make 2 points at first. I mean, I think we realise very much that construction inflation is really affecting all our work. So it's really good to hopefully get 2 projects off the ground here and get in early. I think that's absolutely critical. Secondly, maybe in terms in paragraph 13 and in paragraph 12, we mentioned the Belfield Interchange, and we're absolutely very much disappointed in not being successful in the two bids that are mentioned there. But that doesn't mean that we'll take absolutely every opportunity to lobby for improvements to the Belfield Interchange, because that's fundamentally important. Not just in terms of safety, as we see queuing traffic in that off-ramp and on the 71, which is an absolute concern, but in terms of the economic growth of the wider region, it's absolutely critical that we get some investment into the Belfield Interchange. So we're not keeping our eye off the ball, so to speak, on this one, and we continue to lobby hard for that to every opportunity. So we're maybe not saying that there, but I think we need to say that, and I think that's important. But other than that, I'll just open it up for other comments and questions. Ian?
So you were getting a fundamentally in there, Diggy. You almost made it. Agree with everything you say about the Belfield roundabout. I think we have to record our disappointment at the lack of progress in that. But my point was really, we're getting very, very close to almost joining Kilmarnock in terms of housing and obviously the businesses in there. Is there plans to retain some sort of slight green corridor to protect the village character of Christhouse?
I think that's part of the LDP too. I think we've made comments about that, and some of the other villages bordering, certainly bordering Kilmarnock. Karen, I don't know if you like comment.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, we did. We talked about it as part of LDP2, and what I would say is in terms of this proposal, it doesn't actually increase the footprint of the site that we had previously, so we're not actually going any further west than we were previously towards Cross House. So this is contained, and there is a gap there between Kilmarnock and Cross House that's maintained, and we studied that through LDP2, and that was one of the issues raised at the time.
Thanks, Karen. Thanks, Ian. Apologies for the fundamental. I can't even say it. We bothered with hay fever this morning, so just we'll just cope with that as best we can. Okay, is that everybody? Any other comments? I go to recommendations on page 58, paragraph 2. Can we agree with recommendations? Thank you. Okay, item 6 now, and that's the historic unallocated developer contributions. Straight back to Cam.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of this report is to inform Cabinet of the total remaining monies collected in relation to the East Ayrshire Local Plan 2003, that's the Sports, Leisure and Recreation Fund, Developer Contribution Fund, and the East Ayrshire Local Plan 2010, Res 29, Developer Contribution Fund, and to request approval for the preferred approach to disperse these funds. So for eligible developments obtaining planning approval, developer contributions have been collected on a proportionate basis and spent on a wide range of projects across East Ayrshire in recent years. The Sports, Leisure and Recreation Fund was the first developer contribution fund the Council created following adoption of the local plan in 2003. Paragraphs 4 to 8 set out the background on this fund. In terms of the southern area, just under £12,000 remains unallocated for spend, and in terms of the northern area, just under £18,000 remains unallocated for spend. The Local Plan 2010, turning to that, through Policy Res 29, identified a number of projects for which a financial contribution was sought. Due to some of the projects that were originally earmarked not being taken forwards, the Council agreed to establish a Members Officers Working Group back in 2020, I think, to determine how the remaining developer contribution funds should be utilised. And that group did disperse the majority of the remaining funds. But there are monies remaining to date, as set out in paragraph 11, with a small amount of income still being generated from the site at Draffin in Stewarton as the build is ongoing, and that's the site just as you come into Stewarton of the 77, and I think there's in the region of 70 houses still to be developed there. As per paragraph 12, in addition to these monies, the Council holds a sum of money which is pending refund due to developments not taking place. So those are monies that come in for developer contributions and then that development for whatever reason didn't happen. Paragraphs 13 to 18 set out proposals for the spend of remaining funds, and it's proposed that the unallocated monies from the SLRF and those from Res 29 income are matched into the place-based investment programme monies. This will allow additional projects to be supported where these are in line with the objectives and geographical locations of the original funds. Where there is not an eligible project in the current financial year for the place-based investment programme, those monies would roll over into the next tranche. In terms of the monies which are allocated, it's proposed to transfer the balance of the Res 29 monies, which were originally for the Sports Centre in Stewarton, to East Ayrshire Leisure Trust for projects more generally in Stewarton, and to transfer the balance of the Res 29 monies relating to the B778 to ARA for use on upgrades to the B778. So whilst you'll see that those are relatively small amounts of money, so it's just under 44,000 for Stewarton and just under 25,000 for the B778, East Ayrshire Leisure Trust have already had just over £350,000 of developer contributions, and ARA have had around £175,000 for the B778 and have a chest of about 400,000 for that project. And there are studies ongoing that ARA are undertaking with Atkins to look at improvements to that road. So in respect of the monies we've been attempting to refund, it's proposed that the parties be contacted one final time, and should monies not be sought prior to 31st of March 2024, these monies would as well be match funded against year 4 of the place-based fund. Should Cabinet approve the recommendations, the assessment panel for the place-based fund, which includes representation from economic growth, will consider which projects should be awarded funds from the developer contributions monies and will proceed to Cabinet with joint recommendations for the spend of both the place-based and the developer contribution monies once that assessment process is complete. There are a range of implications set out in paragraphs 17 to 24 and 9 recommendations at paragraph 2 in order to achieve the spend of remaining funds, and I'm happy to take any questions. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Karen. Bit of kind of tricky report, but I think you're trying to get some of this money out and spent in the communities where we should. A lot of this is kind of complicated and historical, but I know that members will want to spend it in areas where the developments have been taking place. Colleagues, any comments? Claire?
Just like to say thank you for the report, Karen, and it's disappointing that all the work that we put into the developers' contributions back in 2020 that some of these haven't come forward, but it's understandable considering the circumstances. So fully support this, and I note it is coming back to Cabinet anyway. We will be consulted on it as councillors as it will go through the place-based funding. So yeah, I think it's an excellent report. But again, really disappointed. We tried hard. Thank you.
Thanks, Claire. Anybody else? No? Okay, we'll go to recommendations, page 67. Can we agree on recommendations? Okay, go to item 7 now, and that's the Regeneration Capital Grant Fund update. Back to you, Karen.
Thanks, Chair. The purpose of this report is to update Cabinet on the progress of all the current Regeneration Capital Grant Fund projects and to notify of a newly announced round of funding. Paragraphs 3 to 5 set out the background to this fund and a number of projects we've taken forwards. So in terms of Above Adventure, which sits from paragraph 6, the West of Scotland Climbing Centre, including both the bouldering hall and the climbing walls within the former Grange Church, opened for business on the 20th of May, and I know some of us have had the opportunity to go and have a look at it. The facility offers a variety of climbing walls, equipment, classes and groups that are accessible and welcoming for everyone. The Council and the Health and Social Care Partnership will continue to work with Above Adventure to maximise the centre's potential for Ayrshire, both as a leisure and tourism attraction, and it's really fantastic to see that project come to fruition. In terms of Creative Cyber Campus, the Council purchased the White Tile building in King Street in 2019 for £250,000. There was subsequently Cabinet agreed an application for £1.37 million of funding from RCGF, which was awarded in April 22, on the condition that Celebrate Kilmarnock take ownership of that. In the spring-summer of 21, £462,000 from the Town Centre Regeneration Fund monies from the Town Centre Regeneration Fund were spent on the removal of asbestos from the building. And in spring 22, the Stage 2 Community Asset Transfer application was submitted. Officers have been engaging with Celebrate Kilmarnock throughout the process to assess the project business case, seeking further evidence to allow a CAT determination to be made. However, unfortunately, within this timeframe, world events have significantly impacted the feasibility of the project with unavailable resources, as well as the ongoing sustainability of the revenue project. And in this context, and through continuing discussion, Celebrate Kilmarnock have decided to withdraw their CAT application and it won't progress. Officers have liaised with RCGF colleagues to inform them of the position, and whilst the monies allocated to this project have been withdrawn, RCGF are entirely happy to consider future applications in relation to projects or that building. And RCGF were also able to redirect some of that funding into Above Adventure to fill a funding gap. Celebrate Kilmarnock and East Ayrshire Council continue to work in partnership to improve the town centre and continue to move forwards positively through the newly formed Kilmarnock Strategic Group. And that group will now explore and consider future opportunities for the building towards a recommendation to Cabinet, which will align with our asset management strategy for council-owned buildings. So moving on to current year projects, paragraphs 14 to 17 set out Take a Bow, who were awarded 1.341 million for the former New Farm Lock Community Centre, and significant work has been progressing there. There was a further formal offer grant for 0.2 million received from the community ownership funding, and TAB are currently working to purify conditions of grant for their CARES funding. They've been doing some fundraising activity, and the REBA design stage 3 has been finalised. The development of a new car park on the site adjacent to the community centre is also being progressed through funding from the Place-Based Investment Fund. In terms of new Comnic Reuse Hub, significant progress has been made by the design team. They've just completed REBA stage 2 and are currently in discussion with the board of New Comnic Development Trust regarding their revised cost plan and cost saving options. The costs have increased in that construction costs have increased from 2 to 2.6 million, and a range of options to trim that down are set out in paragraph 21. The board will be meeting shortly to agree which option to progress to REBA stage 3. They have been advised that whilst there's potential to secure additional funding from a range of sources, that in relation to the RCGF funding, they're required to ensure that whatever option they go with ensures that they will be able to substantially meet the outcomes indicated within their stage 2 application. And to meet the funding deadline. And we will be doing some further due diligence on that project to assess the implications of the chosen option and any other funding requirements or plans to ensure that the council is comfortable with the option chosen. The RCGF team are now accepting outline proposals for round 11 of the fund, having discussed potential significant capital investment projects that have community involvement through the council's wider investment network officers group. We don't consider that there are any projects at the moment that meet the funding criteria and are at a sufficiently advanced stage to be able to be submitted to round 11 stage 1. But paragraph 24 sets out a number of projects that may be ready by round 12, and we'll continue to support those projects. This won't be the first time that we haven't submitted. We didn't submit into round 3 of this process. So paragraphs 25 to 33 set out the implications, and there are 7 recommendations set out in paragraph 2, and I'm happy to take any questions. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks very much, Karen. Just like to thank you and the team for all your hard work in this area. I think your paragraph 3 was saying that almost £11 million worth of funding have come into this authority, which probably, certainly per head of population, is probably one of the highest in Scotland, if not the highest. I mean, it's disappointing that we've not been able to pursue the White Tile building, but again, there's a theme here in terms of construction. Inflation has really affected a lot of projects that we do. Just one wee questions. In paragraph 24, you mentioned some of the possible candidates for round 12. I take it that's not an exclusive list. There could be, if there's any other potential projects out there, we would consider them. Yeah.
No, sure, absolutely not. Obviously, we'll continue to consider anything that comes before us before we get to the point of round 12, and to support any groups.
Edit.
I think it's important when we're considering any future applications that we look at any contribution that we need to be made by the council towards the capital of these, because we already know how stretched our own capital budget is. So if we're allocating money to these projects, we would need to consider the impact that we could deliver on, our existing capital programme. So that they are very laudable programmes, and I think as we've seen the ones that are coming forward, we're trying to manage them within the resource that we have available there, rather than having a consideration across onto the capital programme. So anything coming forward, certainly will be within that, that lens of actually making sure that it's best value for us as a council, taking into account not only these projects, but the projects we've already put down in terms of the capital programme.
I said it. Excuse me. Anyone else? Maureen?
Thank you very much. And this is something that I've already had the opportunity to discuss with Karen. And it is really, I suppose, linking what Chief Executive has said and also some of the issues that are there in relation to the new Comnic Reuse Hub. And clearly one of the proposals would be there to make a change to that project. So I suppose it's really just to, in this forum, get the answer in terms of, obviously it is for the group to make their decisions, but clearly a shortfall would be a result potentially of one of the decisions that the group would potentially make. So I suppose what I've already asked is just some assurance about what the interaction is really between us and the group itself to enable the project to go ahead, but also not for us to be, if you like, the people who actually pick up that shortfall, given that there is a proposal which would enable the project to go ahead without additional funding, although it would be a change to the project.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to make sure the project doesn't fail in any way, and we can support it with realistic objectives. Karen?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yeah, what we'll do is once we know the decision that the board have come to, we'll look at the due diligence on that, see where that takes us, and then we'll take a decision from there as to how sustainable the project looks, etc.
David?
Thanks, Chair. Just to kind of sum up some of the points that were raised, and obviously Karen's alluded to the due diligence work that we're carrying out, so that is quite robust and allows us to get a good handle on how things are progressing. Notwithstanding, we have, as the Chief Executive has highlighted regarding the funding, we have emphasised to every group that we're talking to that that each project has to be sustainable in its own rights. And we're using, obviously, as members will recall, some of the shared prosperity funding that we received to work with different communities, to support communities in their feasibility studies. But the whole funding position is emphasised at day one, so that they're aware that they will have to come up with a cocktail of funding, but obviously we don't have the current resources to facilitate that. So they are aware in each case. And I would say, just to kind of take forward Karen's point, the door is open. We obviously have a number of kind of irons in the fire with a number of different developments. It's just some are going faster than others, and the ones that are in the report are the ones that have kind of put their head above the parapet a wee bit, taking a highlight that they're looking to move down that route. But we will consider other applications as well.
Thanks, David. Anyone else? Maureen?
Thanks very much. I think that's reassuring. And when we go back to what the initial paper said in the due diligence that was actually done, that quite simply we set out our stall then that we wouldn't be in a position to actually move forward, and that for the projects to continue to have our support, it would be within that understanding. And I think, again, what we are seeing then is we're seeing decisions that were taken then that allowed those projects to go forward. We're really just re-emphasising that again. And I hope that's something that's very clearly understood by the board of the New Cumnock Reuse Hub, because we did agree to support it. We want it to be a success, but it has to be a success within the financial envelope that's possible.
Absolutely agree with that. Okay, anyone else? Any other questions or comments? Okay, can we go to recommendations? And paragraph 2, page 35, can we agree recommendations? Okay, now I have to move exclusion of press and public and ask IT